What is up, guys? Frosty Osty here today for another Frosty Features. What this is a comic book background on the tunes that you use in Marvel Strike Force, and today we are covering the upcoming Illuminati team. Our first member to appear in the blog postosphere is Black Panther Shuri. Now, like I said, this is a comic book background, and I'm well aware that the version of Shuri that we're getting in Marvel Strike Force is based on the MCU character, but like lore dictates, guess who the MCU character is based upon? You're right, it is Marvel 616 Shuri. Now with that, let's get started. According to Scopely, we will read this now and we will rate the quality of character description that we got from the blog post in the introduction of the character. So here is what it is. Shuri, the brilliant and tech-savvy younger sister of T'Challa, is a genius inventor and head of Wakanda's technology division. She played a crucial role in developing advanced technologies that aided her brother, the Black Panther, and the nation's defense. But following T'Challa's death, Shuri stepped up to become the new Black Panther, combining her technological prowess and combat skills to protect Wakanda and honor her brother's legacy. Watch for her debut to come with some of the best introductory character offers ever seen in Marvel Strike Force. What's a character description without bringing up spending money on them? So we will rate this description at the end of the feature. This is, so first off, all of you, because everybody talks about, I've heard a lot of people talk about how awesome the design of the MCU Black Panther Shuri is. Nah. Comic book wins. Well, come on. Her name's Shuri. Most of the Wakandans have a single name: T'Challa, T'Chaka, Hunter, Shuri. First appearance, Black Panther Volume 2, Number 2, or Volume 4, Number 2, in 2004. That is correct. Black Panther Shuri is less than 20 years old. Even 20 feels kind of weird. So in the grand scheme of comics, actually quite very much a newer character, and actually isn't involved in that much as far as stories go. Because upon introduction, she was definitely a supporting character. So only in recent years do we see an uptick in the use of Shuri. It did come out before her becoming Black Panther came out before the MCU did it. So it is very much a thing. And the first time we see her as Black Panther actually is in the following year in 2005 in Black Panther Volume 5, Number 5. So my non-comic book savvy people here, what these volumes are, I brought them up. This is, I think, the 96th Frosty feature. These different volumes, most of the time when you get a new volume 1 is like one story, volume 2 is the next story, etc., etc. So often, well, like an arc, the character, the universe, that iteration of Black Panther or what have you. So this is the 5th essentially revamp of a Black Panther storyline, right? But that's kind of part of it being a sliding timeline. Things get adjusted throughout these different volumes. We have different writers, etc. So one volume later, in number 5, we see Shuri as Black Panther. So Shuri only existed for a year before she became Black Panther, which is a pretty interesting bit. Powers and abilities. She is superhuman in every sense of the word. Super speed, super strength, super reflexes, as comes with the powers of the heart-shaped herb. Essentially, you become Captain America, but you're trained differently, more or less, right? She also has her own set of mystic powers that we will talk about later, but that is a more recent lore. Aliases, Ajay Adana. This is also playing into that recent lore. I wanted to bring it up because it's cool and it really sets her apart from the T'Challa Black Panther. We won't see it in game, once again, because of the MCU background. In future MCU iterations, we might see some of this kind of pick up because the cool things that come from the comic, they always like to just kind of shoehorn into the MCU movies, and that's totally fine. Affiliations, Panther Cult and Guardians of the Galaxy. We do see non-Black Panther Shuri join the Guardians of the Galaxy for a while, but for the most part, she just kind of hangs out. In the comic books, she pretty much just hangs out with with her family, her country. Once again, she's not involved in a whole bunch. She does have interactions with X-Men and the Avengers, but she never officially joins any of them. She's not in the Illuminati. That's made up. Even Black Panther T'Challa was offered to join the Illuminati and turned it down. Part of the notable events section of today's feature talks about that, but that's not a thing. So another thing I want to bring up. A lot of the things in the MSF community, people, I've been talking about this a lot in the last few Frosty features, is people's reference to which lore counts. When I'm saying these things, oh, this is how it happens in comic books. This is how it happens in the movies. This is how it happens here and there in video games, blah, 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 blah. It all counts. It always counts all the time, right? Everything is based off everything else. So the fact that we are getting the MCU Shuri, which is based on this Shuri in the comics, if MSF has their own lore, which is based off of the MCU, since that's the vision of the one we're getting, right? That's the costume that we see. That means those roots come from the comic still, because this is a video game based on comic book characters. I'm sorry, that's what it is. Background, we've got a Wakandan princess. Wakanda is a hidden country in Africa. If you haven't seen any Black Panther 1 or 2, it's time to actually put those into the VHS player and check them out. I don't even think you can buy that on VHS. Who died? T'Challa. So, can't be a superhero, super villain without somebody dying. Shuri most certainly was a superhero in her own right before somebody died. At that point, I would argue that T'Chaka dies. But in this situation, for her to become Black Panther, even in the comics, it is perceived that T'Challa is dead. I say perceived. In comics, it's really hard for a character to actually die. Even in the MCU, we see the absence of T'Challa because of Chadwick Boseman's untimely death, right? We won't, with that, because movies are based in a form of reality, we won't see that him again unless they try to do some disrespectful CGI thing like they've done in a few movies that we've seen, God forbid. But we shouldn't see him again in the MCU because we are limited to our current reality, right? But when you have things like animations and comic books, the characters don't have to die, they can live forever. So in this situation, T'Challa is supposedly dead, and is dead, sort of. Anyway, his lack of being there does in fact require Shuri to step forward and become the Black Panther. The process of becoming a Black Panther is significantly different in the comics than the MCU. Significantly, it is different. So that is something to keep into consideration, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. Seems to always become the Black Panther. So if you look up different, because I knew there was more Black Panther Shuri stories than I was aware of, so I started like diving into that for the future. And almost, it feels like every other story revolving around Shuri as a character is her becoming the Black Panther. A big thing about her is her character in the comics is her biggest thing. Her goals are to become the Black Panther all the time. It's once again another division between the small differences between the MCU and the comic books is that Shuri's main goal is to become the Black Panther. Does that mean that she wants her brother to die? No, but that is an unfortunate byproduct of her having to be able to achieve what she wants. This is actually very important to the story, which is why I wanted to point it out. Beyond Black Panther, so Shuri is working works with different superhero teams, the affiliations, things like that. And she's known as one of the strongest gauntlet wielders as a tool in the in Marvel, and also she becomes in becoming the Queen of Wakanda and working with different teams, things like that. Like I said, she was affiliated with Guardians of the Galaxy for a short period of time. So Shuri is a strong, independent character beyond the powers of Black Panther. She just doesn't see it, which is kind of sad. It's really important to the character as a whole. As much as I said, it's not as much in the MCU, it does still have a reflection in the MCU, because once again, I'm beating this dead horse until it stops spitting out facts. It is based on the comics. The MCU is based on the comics. Scopely's lore is based on the comics. I'm sorry. They would just put new team names. We'd have a new Spider Weaver, right? Also, side note, due to the fact that the Scopely original dudes have such cool lore, why doesn't the Scopely lore have better backgrounds, right? That's what we rate on here. 100% relationships. So, we obviously have a very close-knit community. We have a very tight family, so the most notable relationships, there's a lot. If you check out the other Frosty features, we started Frosty features before War Dogs, so we have like, or even Out of Time, or etc. Black Panther 1 million BC. We have Out of Time. I thought about Avengers 1 million BC. So Mosi was in it, or Bashenga, whatever. However you want to look at the Black Panther 1 million BC. But in Scopely lore, he doesn't have a name. So the first Black Panther is Mosi. Anyway, Mosi counts. I didn't put her in here. Relationships that are notable: T'Chaka and Ramonda are her parents. So that's King T'Chaka, Queen Ramonda. T'Challa and Jakara are her older half-brothers. So, in case you didn't know, Queen Ramonda is T'Chaka's third wife. So, T'Challa is not her biological son. Which, that's important to consider, especially given the relationship that they have, because in comics and MCU, T'Challa is very close to Queen Ramonda. That is a thing, but it actually is not his biological mother. Hunter is the adopted brother, not in the MCU, but I really love his character. This is the White Wolf in comics. In the MCU, the White Wolf is Bucky, and I'm totally fine with that. But I want to throw out adopted brother, Hunter. He still counts. Notable events. So here we go. Becoming Black Panther. It is time to talk about this situation. So a big thing about Wakanda is that it is a secret nation in Africa, and it is the most technologically advanced nation in the world, and it has closed borders. Therefore, a lot of the storylines revolving around Wakanda are Wakanda being invaded. So there is a situation where Wakanda is invaded by a slew of people. Rhino is there. Most notably, for the sake of the story, our Black Knight, who is possessed by a character I believe is called the Cannibal. And I don't know anything about the character that really possessed him, because he's not really in anything else that I'm aware of. But anyway, Black Knight is possessed, so he's there, and then Radioactive Man is there, and so this is kind of a big thing. So as the invasion is going on, things are attacking. Shuri is fighting, because Shuri's a badass, even if she's not Black Panther. She is fighting, and she ends up getting kind of backed into the Great Mound. The Great Mound being where all the vibranium is, it's the mountain in which the vibranium is mined and refined, what have you, in Wakanda. And she gets trapped in there by Radioactive Man, and she is hopelessly outgunned as far as Radioactive Man is concerned. And in her attempts to hide from Radioactive Man inside the mound, as he's pursuing her, she comes across, of all things, Black Knight has accidentally discarded the Ebony Blade. So she comes upon the Ebony Blade and wields it, and essentially, Spider-Man stealth kills Radioactive Man by slicing him down the middle, killing him, which shocks her heavily. She is heavily affected by her first kill. She is shook to her core, and understandably so. Another thing I want to point out, it's not really noted in the comics, but a lot of the Black Knight canon, check out Frosty featured Black Knight, a lot of the Black Knight canon revolves around the idea that as you spill blood onto the sword, it slowly corrupts the mind of the person. And I think it's a very interesting thing that she gets so shook from her first kill after wielding the Ebony Blade, especially as a person as mentally strong as Shuri is. Shuri is definitely, I don't know if she's top 10, but definitely top 20, top 30 of most intelligent human characters in the Marvel Universe. So having somebody so mentally sound be affected could be from magical means of the particular blade she was wielding, even though that's never really explored. But because of this trauma, this situation that occurs, T'Challa, after the invasion is kind of pushed off and whatever, T'Challa is like, hey, I'm going to train you to be a Black Panther. So Shuri is limited in her training growing up. She is limited to essentially the training the other girls may have, or at least to the extent of Dora Milaje. So she is a martial artist to an extent, but she does not get the full ability or trainings of a Black Panther. But because T'Challa is king and he decides that this is the way to be, for her own safety and for her to be able to protect her country, T'Challa elects to teach Shuri in the ways of being a Black Panther, also as a pretty solid backup, just in case anything happens. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. A couple of years go by, and guess what? Wakanda is getting raided again by the Cabal. So, at a point, there's a big thing of incursions that are going on, and there's a situation where an alter Earth may run into Earth, and the Illuminati assemble to try to figure out something to do, and then the antithesis of the Illuminati is actually Cabal, which is obviously very prevalent in Marvel Strike Force right now. So the Illuminati, who are coming out in Marvel Strike Force, and Cabal, which are currently one of the meta teams in Marvel Strike Force, they're actually opposites of each other, very similar to X-Men and Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. So in canon, T'Challa is invited to join the Illuminati. He turns them down, and then Namor shows up, which once again, Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, we have a relationship with Namor there. Namor and T'Challa have a big history. Namor shows up and he's like, yo, or actually it's the other way around. T'Challa shows up and he's like, Namor's like, you should join the Cabal. And T'Challa's like, absolutely not. I'm out of here. And Namor's like, fine, that's okay that you don't want to join the Cabal. So at this time, the Cabal does not look like the MSF Cabal almost at all. Obviously, Namor's part of it. But it's very much, it's Emma Frost, Doctor Doom, Namor, and Loki in the Hood, which we don't have the Hood in MSF. So it's quite a different configuration overall. Really, just Namor being somebody that we see, but he rejects the idea of becoming Cabal. Namor's like, that's fine. I respect your decision. You're allowed to leave. There's a lot of respect there. And upon leaving, he is ambushed by Doctor Doom, who is not so happy that T'Challa does not want to be a part of the Cabal. And Doctor Doom's like, you know what? I think I'm gonna kill you. And Doctor Doom, of all people, has every ability available to do so. So he doesn't kill, because comics, he doesn't kill Black Panther exactly, but he maims him to a point where he is in a heck of a coma. If he's not dead, he's in a heck of a coma. So T'Challa, there's a new invasion on Wakanda because the king is dead or what have you. So Shuri, so the way that you become the Black Panther in the comics is different than the MCU. In the MCU, you win a trial, you beat the previous Black Panther, you fight for it, and then you take the herb. Fighting for it is the first step in the comics, but then you must go on a journey to find the herb, and then you take the herb. You go before Boss, and Boss determines whether or not you are able to become Black Panther, right? That kind of upsets the plot of Black Panther 1, and once again, it is a different universe, so the change is fine, right? As long as it doesn't claim to be the 616 again. Anyway, so in Shuri's case, it is pretty much unanimously elected that she should be the person to do this, so she goes on the journey to get the heart-shaped herb. And in doing so, she makes it through the trial. She does well. She was trained by T'Challa. She knows how to do this stuff. And she gets to the point where she gets the heart-shaped herb and she ingests it. And then lo and behold, she sees Boss show up. And Boss is like, you are a prideful. I hate that. You need to calm down. You're not getting any of these powers. And in fact, because you are so prideful, Wakanda's going to fall and it's going to be your fault. And typically, when people come before me, the god, I eat them if they're not worthy. You're not worthy, but you're so not worthy, I'm not even going to eat you. You're going to live with your sins of pride and watch your country fall and know it was your fault. Peace. And so Boss turns around and leaves. So at this point, Shuri does not get the powers of the Black Panther, and she is absolutely, utterly devastated. And she goes to Zoabari, which is like, he's kind of like a witch doctor. I don't mean that in a negative way, but he's a shaman, a Wakandan shaman type. So this is often who helps with some of the heart-shaped herb stuff. This is somebody that helps with some resurrections and things like that because magic. And he convinces her that instead of looking at it the way Boss says, she should look at it like she has the chance to redeem herself. So, Shuri puts on the Black Panther garb anyway, no powers, this is important to note. Granted, it's technologically enhanced because why wouldn't Shuri do it that way? So it's sort of like a lesser Iron Man suit, but in a Black Panther form. And she elects to take on the fight at that point. So the Lion Cult is trying to prevent a new Black Panther from rising, so they summon Morlun. So we've talked about Morlun quite a bit in Frosty Features. Morlun is the leader of the Inheritors. He is a vampire that feeds on animal totems, right? So animal totems being something like Spider-Man, Black Panther. So essentially, a god working through a person like an animal-based god working through a person. So Black Panther is totally an animal totem. Spider-Man having a lot of the versions of Spider-Man have that the spider god kind of behind them. If you go into deep lore, check out, there's a lot of Frosty features. We talked about the Inheritors. But anyway, so the Lion Cult absolutely summons Moreland to try to stop anything from the Panthers coming out. And Moreland is hyper badass. And on his way to Wakanda, he runs into Man-Ape and actually kills and eats absorbs Man-Ape. And so Shuri is tasked with trying to defend Wakanda from Moreland, which is absolutely and utterly out of her league. At the same time, we see T'Challa is in the afterlife, and he is fighting death. And these hordes of monsters are coming at him. They're death's hordes, and he's fighting his way through these ranks. And as we see this, there's also the situation where Queen Aurora, which is Storm, so they're married at the time, she has Zawbari put her under so that she can go and help T'Challa or bring him back. So in this time, she also gives her blessing for Shuri to become the Black Panther in case it doesn't work, etc. So she also goes to this astral plane to try and help. So it's easier to blast through these hordes of death, right, when there's Storm and Black Panther and T'Challa. So they're fighting off in this astral plane at the same time, where Shuri is doing her best. Every single altercation she gets in with Moreland, she gets her freaking face kicked in because she's just some chick in a Black Panther suit, and that's Moreland, the head of the Inheritors. So she essentially is just trying to keep him away from everything. She's sort of like a jump in and attack, jump out and attack. My brain came to Swamp Fox attack, but I can't. Guerrilla tactics. Very much running in, jumping out, running in, jumping out, and being as aggressive as possible, and trying to lure him away from populated areas and taking out like their civilization essentially as a whole, right? So, and she's doing a pretty good job of it, even though she very much is in this, and she's like, I'm gonna die. So with this, in the astral plane, we finally see Aurora and T'Challa get to death, and in this, Aurora is there, and she's like, I actually came here to give my life for yours so you can come back and rule your country. And Death's like, nah. How about I let y'all live and I get Moreland, right? So, Moreland essentially gets taken out by Death, and T'Challa and Storm are saved, revived, what have you. So we have Black Panther back. But with this, Shuri went through the trials to become the Black Panther, and in her attempt to save Wakanda, as just a regular human being and what she did against Moreland, Boss rethinks her decision and claims that Shuri has become worthy, and she obtains the powers of the Black Panther. So when she becomes Black Panther, there's actually two Black Panthers at the same time. T'Challa is still alive, and then we also have Black Panther Shuri in her all of her glory, finally achieving the dream that she's been striving for a while. So now, more recently, there's a story arc called Time Runs Out. So what this details is this is like after Secret Wars. I can't remember if it's after, but it's right around Secret Wars. And there's a war between Atlantis and Wakanda, which and I believe in the MCU, by the way, Atlantis is Attilia or whatever they called it, the MCU. But there's a war between Atlantis and Wakanda. This happens. So Namor leads a big attack on Wakanda. That doesn't end well for Namor. They fight him back off. And in the meantime, Shuri takes a group essentially of takes her own Dora Milaje, Wakandan strike force kind of situation, ends up in Atlantis and freaking decimates the place. Like, absolutely, like, almost kills everybody. Like, 100%, like, let's say a 98% completion, like, destroys Atlantis. And Namor gets back and he's pissed. He's super mad. So using his Cabal influences, he ends up getting an audience with none other than Thanos in the Black Order. And he convinces Thanos that Wakanda is hiding the Infinity Gems. They're gems in the comics, stones in the movies. Hiding the Infinity Gems in Wakanda, which automatically makes Thanos go, I'm going to Wakanda. And so it's one thing if Atlantis is attacking Wakanda, it's a whole other thing if Thanos is doing it. So Thanos shows up with the Black Order and is attacking. So Shuri fits into this because not only did she cause all this, because she was the part of the team that utterly destroyed Atlantis. She is a Black Panther, so she has to defend her people. She ends up on the front lines, and she sees Proxima Midnight square up. And so Proxima Midnight has a crazy, check out Frosty Features Proton. We go into this quite a bit. But she essentially has a homing spear, right? So she's lined up on T'Challa, and we see Shuri sacrifice herself. And she gets killed trying to protect her brother. He ends up getting teleported away. She stays behind to try to fight off, and she is killed by Proxima Midnight. With this, the Cabal ends up operating in Wakanda for Secret Wars at this point, I believe. I could be wrong about that. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, with this, Shuri's dead, and T'Challa is like, yeah, I can't have this. I can't have my sister be dead. That doesn't sit well with me. So he starts trying to figure out how to bring her back, and he ends up actually teaming up with Manifold, who is an ex-person, an extraordinarily overpowered ex-person, to try to figure out how to bring her back. So Manifold can bend essentially the Reality Stone as depicted in the MCU. Manifold's he's essentially a Reality Stone. He bends the universe around him, typically, which makes him teleport or speed. He can speed or communicate anywhere in the universe instantly. So anyways, with that, he's, talking through astral planes, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it doesn't work right away because there's no story there. So Manifold and T'Challa are working together to try to bring Shuri back from the dead. Shuri, so she's not actually dead. She's encased in like this amber construct thing. They're never actually dead, right? But her soul leaves her body and goes to this place called, and I'm gonna say this wrong, I probably said plenty of things wrong today, the Dajari, which is essentially the astral plane in which all of the Wakandan memory, etc. lives. And she goes and she runs into a griot spirit who takes on the form of Queen Ramonda and is like, we're gonna train you in the ways of this like afterlife thing. Essentially, it's like, we're gonna give you magic. And so she's training with this fake Queen Ramonda, and a Manifold and T'Challa end up making a machine that essentially brings her soul back from the other plane. And when she returns to her body, not only does she have the powers, I just wanted to talk about these powers because they're freaking cool. Not only does she have the powers of Black Panther, so just general superhuman ability, she gets this sort of like anamorphic thing where she can turn into, and that's kind of what you're seeing there, she can turn into these flocks of birds, or like a giant bird. She can turn into like a stone form and change her size and shape. Sort of like we've talked about before, mystic plot armor. She can kind of do whatever she wants as far as it's concerned. So in current comic continuity, Black Panther Shuri is significantly more powerful than T'Challa Black Panther, which I find very interesting and amusing, and it's super cool. But currently she's operating under the name and moniker, which we talked about, the alias section, Aja Adana, which essentially is the lore keeper, like me. But that's where she is. Those are some notable events. Definitely check them out. There's a few different Black Panther Shuri runs. It all depicts different ways she becomes a Black Panther. That's something that I was alluding to earlier. So definitely check them out. There's a lot of fun reads there. Power level and Marvel Strike Force. We don't care about power levels, but here at Frost Features, we do know the way that this works. If you are a multiversal threat, that means you are a threat to all of reality, not just your reality. You can topple the multiverse at a whim. Universal means that you can end your reality, maybe hop on to another one, just leisurely step over into another dimension and end that thing, and maybe go one at a time. Cosmic means you are a threat on the small end, on a planetary scale, and can take out things like solar systems or galaxies with enough time. Nuclear means you have power equivalent to that of a nuclear bomb, leveling things like small cities and up to planetary bodies, once again with enough time. Super soldier means that you are beyond the capabilities of a human being, having things like super strength, super speed, etc. Our main point of reference here is Captain America. City means that you are equivalent to a human being that is trained to the absolute and utter peak of human ability. Talking is hard. in Marvel, we find a lot of our secret agents, mercenaries, ninjas, and such at this level. And then there's Greg. Greg is the undead Asgardian that is spawned by Hela in Marvel Strike Force, and when Hela's gone and Greg is left to his own devices, he is very, very sad to even be existing, y'all. So, in the event that I'm out antique shopping, and I happen to find this beautiful vase that I aim to purchase, and I turn around and I see Greg in the store, and he happens to kick the store cat, the shop cat. I now have my vase as a weapon, and I, as a regular human being, theoretically in this situation, in assaulting Greg for assaulting a cat, I theoretically could take on Greg. So, due to undead Asgardian physiology, and just for the fun and sake of argument, I'm saying that Greg is equivalent to that of a regular human being. So, in the case of Black Panther Shuri, we've said it multiple times, she is set to the super soldier level of power, and as Black Panther Shuri will be represented in Marvel Strike Force, she is also in the super soldier level of power. The things we have to consider is the powers she gets from the Dajari, right? We're not necessarily talking about MSF as far as the comic book version is concerned, right? She is more powered, she is super powered as far as these new powers from the Dajari come from. Hope I'm saying that right, I said it a lot. So, how does this change? At the end of the day, we don't really know. So she's as being at the base level of super soldier, her additional powers are very impressive, which put her at a higher level than T'Challa's super soldier, but we haven't seen anything that puts her at an atomic level like somebody like the Hulk or Sentry who can level a city, right? So my argument currently is that current Black Panther Shuri in the comics is probably high-end super soldier, but we do not have the proof that she's nuclear, but the potential is there. All that being said, we still have to rate this blog post. So here's the thing. I keep talking about MSF content creators' interpretation of lore, MSF's interpretation of lore. No matter how we look at it, right? If we look at it through the lens of comic books, if we look at it through the lens of the MCU, this blog post description is a bit of a disgrace. It doesn't tell us anything about why T'Challa has died, like what her ambitions are as a character. This is an extremely baseline, to the point where there is a alternate universe where Shuri does not exist. This is predates Shuri becoming out in the comics. In the Marvel Mangaverse, there's T'Challa, which is the exact same character as Shuri, but she's evil and she's all into tech, etc. And this description could apply to her, right? Because this description is so utterly broad, so anything could fit into it, more or less. It doesn't tell you anything. It very much is like somebody got they hired a shitty private investigator. He did a very preliminary search, and these are general facts about a person in the station of the Princess of Wakanda. It really doesn't even describe Shuri in any way, right? This is bad. They didn't try. What's the lore here, right? The lore here is Black Panther's sister is now Black Panther. We know nothing about that character. The actual lore of a character is gone. So where do we draw it from? It's this blank. Why? Because Scopely is assuming that you know who this character is from the MCU, right? So that means Scopely is relying on other lore to tell their story, and that's okay. Don't try to say it's different lore, because it's all the same lore. That's how a multiverse works, y'all. And that is Frosty Features Black Panther Shuri. I hope that you all enjoyed it. If I got anything wrong, please let me know in the comments, and let me know your favorite Shuri moments or otherwise Wakandan, Black Panther, what have you moments in the comments. I love to hear it. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe this here on YouTube. It doesn't cost you anything but a couple of clicks. And as a reminder, I stream at the link above Sunday mornings, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, where we do Frosty Features live. I hope that you all enjoyed this. I hope that you all have a fantastic weekend. Most importantly, stay cool.